Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Welcome to the Footy Podcast, coming to you from the luxurious studios over at Here's Help. And, what we're doing a lot of things. But the podcast, we're selling, we have our own line of sauces. We have more lines of sauces coming out. Yeah. And we have, believe it or not, we have a cheese line coming out. So anyway, but basically what we do is we tell a lot of stories and of the days of our careers. Ron Hersey, of course, longtime radio legend, and Spencer, our producer, and myself, Footy. We're here, and we're going to try. We try to keep you up to date, and then we try to take you down some of the funny stories and things that we've been through in our careers. So let's start today, though, Ron. You're our resident expert. So it appears to me that they're starting to back off a lot of the things that, by they, I mean, the health officials and the authorities and the politicians. DeSantis last weekend said it's safe to fly, that he's encouraging everybody to fly because the airplanes have,
the filtration system.
Systems, yeah, so that it doesn't matter. And there's a lot of that stuff going on. The beaches are opening, the restaurants you can stay, actually go in them now. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that's, I guess, sort of, they're learning more maybe, or they're, I don't want to say playing it down, but it just seems like it's nowhere near as panic-stricken as it was for a while.
Well, we are
plus
seeing,
people are getting used to it.
And I think we're seeing some signs of progress in bringing the numbers down. I know the state of Florida's positivity rate has been below 10% for almost a week as of this recording, which is a real positive sign. But in fact, my wife Lori and I actually went to a restaurant for the first time in about 9 months over the weekend.
That's because you're cheap.
It was that too, but it was outdoors.
His coupons are expired.
Yeah, right. We found some. We got Groupons, so we went. But it was outdoors, and the tables were 6 feet apart, and you had to wear a mask to go in.
They said Governor DeSantis said that you don't even have to leave a seat in between your seats if you go in the airline. You can sit 3 in a row.
Well, I think I still think the key to this thing is wearing a mask. I think as long as we maintain that part of our daily lives,
well, that's the
and it is the daily life for a lot of folks in Japan and China.
That is the thing that's most impactful.
Right. And it's so simple. It's so easy. I still, to this day, don't understand why people have such an issue with that. But I think that's the key.
My issue is the microphone.
Well, you can't.
When I'm on the microphone, you can't be talking through the mask.
Right. We lasted exactly 2 podcasts before we were like, well, screw this. You know? and the thing.
Yeah, but we're not anti-mask.
No, it's just.
Fauci doesn't wear a mask. Trump doesn't wear a mask.
Well,
Biden doesn't wear none of them wearing a mask.
Right. So I think the key here is
when they go to a microphone.
Right, exactly. So I think the key is we're seeing the rates go down. What's going to be interesting to see, 2 things. Number one is is Anthony Fauci, you mentioned, and the CDC have always
How
said.
tall you think that guy is?
How tall? He's got to be, what, 5'2"? He can't be any taller than 5'2".
I could have swore I saw him running at Gulfstream last week.
He's like a little jockey action on the side. What they were saying
With
was,
a mask on.
is as we start to gain on this virus, it's not like the cases are just going to continue to go down. What the CDC and Anthony Fauci have been saying was the cases are going to decline and then they'll rise a little bit and then recede and rise a little bit more. It's not just like flipping off a light switch. So now that school is back in, now that colleges are back in, it'll be interesting to see.
Is public
how the
school
cases-
in Dade County?
Public schools in Dade County are online, virtual only. In Broward County, I'm pretty sure they're virtual only. Palm Beach County had a big problem. They started school Monday of this week, August 31st, if you're watching this at a later date. And they had some issues with connectivity, people connecting online. And they announced it'll be fixed in 10 minutes. And then even later on in the day, folks were complaining about not being able to connect. And they think it had to do with so many people trying to log on at the same time.
Yeah, we in our school we used virtual school and all of that. It never worked.
It's an issue
It
because
never worked.
My daughter teaches first grade in Gainesville, and she's losing her mind.
It never works.
Trying to get the kids. First off, they have to be in front of their computer at 7:45 in the morning, which is something.
Yeah.
that,
Plus, they got
know,
they got beans in their pants. They can't sit still with it.
And my daughter's favorite line from this week was, one of the kids logged on, and my daughter said, "Can you hear me?" And the kid said, "No." So that's the kind of stuff that the teachers are up against. But I have been seeing, I think there were like almost 1,000 cases of students at UM that came down with coronavirus since they resumed classes. I think UM has virtual and in classroom. FIU, my son, all his classes are virtual, which for the life of me, I can't understand. Why is he living on campus? Why are we paying for him to live on campus if all of his classes are online? Why is he not at home? But whatever,
Well, they want to be in the atmosphere, and they want to.
But they can't leave their. Well, he can walk the campus, but that's the extent of it. And then
we had virtual units going back 15, 20 years, and we had online teaching and learning, and it never ever worked out.
Well, and as I said, the problem with that is you're at the mercy of the person you're connecting with. You're at the mercy of their technical know-how, and trying to conduct interviews myself for my radio station job, that is a whole nother thing. When you connect with somebody on their laptop and you say to them, "Oh, you need to turn your speakers down," they'll say, "Oh, my computer doesn't have speakers."
Yeah. Well, for us that wasn't the problem. The problem was to get the students to sit still and actually do it
and pay attention.
Yeah, and not go on porn.
Right? Yeah. That too.
Because the number one electronic activity on the school system is porn.
Well,
that's what they do.
Pretty much everywhere.
The minute they get a opportunity, they kind of schools, they go right through the
firewalls
through the
and everything.
fences. Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah.
They go print their own driver's licenses.
Well, these kids have been raised on computers. They know.
Yeah.
They know everything.
Well, plus they talk and they know each other.
Well, and
just do this, do that, and this.
The funniest story I've seen so far is there was a kid who was supposed to be doing virtual classes, and when you go on Zoom, it puts your name underneath your image. He changed his name to Connecting. No. And threw up a fake screenshot. So he could, I guess they say, go on porn because it looked like he was having connecting problems. So my heart goes out to the teachers. As I said, my daughter is a teacher in Gainesville, so I know what they're going through, and it's not easy.
What does she teach? How to cut hay?
Yeah, right. In Gainesville. Well, she's in. If there was such a thing as an inner city in Gainesville, she's there. So she's got a big job ahead of her. I reached out to her yesterday and asked how our first day was, and she said I got through it, which wasn't exactly a vote of confidence, but I'm sure it'll level off and eventually it'll be okay. So
well, but I don't think long term that electronic teaching is going to work.
yeah, well,
we literally been fooling with it one way or another for 20 years, and
right.
it just doesn't work. They don't sit there and do it. And the minute you turn your back, or the minute they get a break, they're
gone.
Well, they're doing some kind of mischief.
Right.
And it's not. It's not the. I don't want to sound like an old fart, but it's not the teacher standing in front of the class with
It's true.
with a stick and teaching you how to do.
The infamous ruler.
Yeah, we don't. It's not. It's just not. It's not practical in the sense of the environment and the people that are involved.
I agree.
You have kids. Kids can't sit still.
And especially college, because even as you mentioned, there's a whole environmental aspect to college. The phrase college life, and
Well,
so-
I happen to be a college graduate, and when I went to St. Thomas, it was priests, and they were very, very strict,
Mhm.
and they were Jesuits, which are the teaching thing. So it might as well be 1800 when I was there.
Right.
And you couldn't, there just was no room, no wiggle room. But other than that, I saw college as, I went to Miami-Dade. I didn't graduate there. I went to FIU, I graduated there. And I went to St. Thomas, and I graduated there. But my primary studies, were at the beach with a half-naked girl. That was pretty much
And
what I
that's
was. And at Miami-Dade, they have that pond or lake in the middle of it. You walk around that pond a couple times, you're in good shape. So,
well,
all kidding aside, I was 21, 19, 18.
and on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's what you do. That's your occupation.
Right. Well, I always missed out on the whole college thing, and I've always loved to hear people's college stories. By 16, I was on the air during the day. I certainly wasn't going to give that up for school. So I would get off the air at 6 o'clock and go take classes at what then was Indian River Community College at night, which in the long run I learned.
Isn't that the place where they have the aircraft?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. But in the long run, I felt like I learned a lot more in high school because my teachers were professors that were picking up extra money at night, on the side. So I felt like I learned a lot. But
you ought to try the Jesuits.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I didn't really get. Plus, I knew my folks didn't have any money for college, and my grades weren't up for college. So, I put all my energies into radio, and then got married and started having. Everybody else was in college, free love and rock, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I was working 2 jobs trying to raise kids and put food on the table.
Well, whose fault is that?
It was totally my fault.
Yeah.
But but that's how I missed out on the college
parties.
experience.
I was at Matheson Hammock for the
walking around the pond at Miami-Dade.
Oh, yeah. But in Matheson Hammock they have a lagoon, and they had. It's still there because we launched the boat there from time to time. And we would have these big bonfires. In fact, Judge Cohen used to go to those, and there was just a big party, and there was no enforcement. Like there was no park rangers or no cops back then in there. We just would go down there and, play music, have bonfires, skinny dipping, all that kind of stuff.
So how did you wind up going from growing up in New York, Long Island area?
Well, I was born and raised in the Bronx, and then I was shipped out on the train that Strelnikov was on to go to the
run out of town.
Long
Well, how did you wind up from there going to a Jesuit school in Miami-Dade?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how I did it. I'll tell you the sequence. First of all, my brother, my older brother, he went to Niagara University, which was a Jesuit school. And he went on to become, he's the world's most accomplished person. And but he was a product of the Jesuits. So we were kind of accustomed to that. In the Bronx, we went to a place called St. Anthony's. And it was, how can I explain this? I think Joseph Goebbels was actually running that school. And, no, they made a movie about it. That movie, Doubt, with Meryl Streep.
Mm-hmm.
That was written by a student from St. Anthony's, like 40 years later.
Wow.
And because my brother said to me, watch this movie. And I'm watching it, and things are familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fence posts, they were unique, so they were familiar.
The barbed wire.
Yeah.
The guard dogs.
So anyway, no, but it was a lot of things were familiar, and it was because we were Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were not Protestants or all these. I wanted to get in one of those other religions, but we were in there with the
Right.
priests, so I was accustomed to that. So, but to answer your question, prior to my fleeing New York, because I literally had to flee. I was given the door, get out of here, don't ever come back. And I had been going to Nassau County Community College with Dr. Sears, who was my angel of mercy, and she helped me get a New York State higher education loan for $5,000. And I went, they had like these kiosks where they had the brochures for different schools and different colleges and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I saw FIU with a palm tree. And I went, hey, this got my name on it, okay? So I came down with my $5,000 and a friend of mine. I lived in Hialeah, right behind PSN, and went to Miami. I went to FIU, and it wasn't even built yet. It was an artist's rendering that I was looking at in a brochure. So I ended up at Miami-Dade North. We used to come in the back way, and go in there, and it was great. I got a kick out of it. It was also pretty easy for me because it wasn't. How can I say this? They were just opening the junior colleges, and they were letting everybody go to college. It was like the post-World War II thing. My father's generation, they couldn't go to college. They didn't have any money to go to college. Go get a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when they came back, they all had the GI Bill. And when I was in school, most of the teachers, if they weren't, women, and some of them were ex-military. They came back, and to them, this was the greatest thing on earth, that they could get a chance to go to college, because in their generation, only rich people went to college.
Yeah, that was my mentality.
Right. So I went to Miami-Dade, and then finally, FIU got built. Well, it wasn't even actually built. It was trailers. And I started going there, and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in social work. And then I had an opportunity on the LEAA grant. I don't want to make it too complicated, but to go to what was then Biscayne College, and now St. Thomas, and I got a graduate degree there. But that was you get it or die was pretty much what it was. And it was a whole year. It was 55, 56 weeks, every night till 10 o'clock, Saturdays all day, Sunday for half a day for over a year, because they were trying to get it done. And I made it. I did it. And you know why I did it? Because I had the kids, I had bills, I had houses, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I always tell people you do it out of fear.
Yeah.
So
Success out of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I hear you.
I know. I knew that this free ride from the LEA grant. I said to myself, and it's right around the block from Here's Help.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to myself, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it.
Right.
Okay, and I did it.
Well, you had everything in place. I mean,
Yeah, but
you
it
would
was
have been crazy
it
to
was
let that slip.
extremely difficult.
I'm sure.
Extremely difficult because you couldn't, it was for 55 weeks, I think, and you couldn't, if you missed one class, it was go see the hangman. Pretty much what they were up to. But yeah, that's how I got to that.
So you wound up with a master's in human resources or
Human development.
and
I got my bachelor's degree in social work and graduate degree in human development. So I did them both.
And that's when you got out, you decided to start Here's Help.
No, Here's Help predated that.
Oh, you were already doing that.
Well, no, I was going to Miami-Dade,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when we started fiddling with the idea of Here's Help. But shortly after that, we were, this was right around the corner, and it was really something else. But it just, it paid dividends, Through the years, it qualified me to get certain kinds of grants and certain kinds of funding.
Right.
And certain until there was a slight mishap down the line. They, in the state of Florida, to work with, probably everywhere, to work with children, you have to get a background check.
Oh. Oops.
To make a long story short, I had to get an attorney.
Wow.
I had to get the transcripts. I had to it was a big deal. And it was almost 50 years later that they tracked me down.
Really? Wow.
And it was like, whoa. So I think, obviously you and I go back to pen and paper. But no, they must be still churning the files to electronic. And that's all of a sudden, boom, there's me. And it didn't go, it took months and months and months to correct.
Sounds like a battle.
No, it wasn't. This was in Nassau County on Long Island, so they're pretty smart. They are, and because it's really education central. They have that all school system should be like that. They have a tremendous educational, demand and value.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a smart thing there. They have every little village has their own school system, and the people in the village run the school system.
Takes a village.
Oh yeah. And they hired a principal. They hired the people.
Mm-hmm.
I had my brother got put in the Hall of Fame for the school we went to on Long Island, and I went. Thought I was going to be locked out. I thought they were going to let me in the door. I guess because of him, I got in.
I was going to say that, that's my kids talk about that all the time, that it's tough if you have an older sibling that goes to a particular school and is super successful and very popular, and then you come along and, you've got this bar, the bar's already been raised, and if you don't rise to that level, then there's a certain animosity there with the teacher,
Yeah, but what they did, and when I went to my brother's thing, it was in the gymnasium. And, I remembered every board in that gymnasium. But they had an ice skating ring, they had a rifle range, they had a pool, they had driver's ed, they had, they had all cooking, they had everything you could imagine. They had, and you know what they never shut up about the whole time I was there? Computers.
Yeah, wow.
That's all. They wouldn't shut up with the computers.
That was the future.
Yeah, and our report cards were computerized when I was in the, kind of in the 10th grade. They were cards with tear-offs for each quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones had the holes in it, like the punch card thing.
Punch cards.
But they didn't shut up about computers.
Yeah, well.
They did not shut up about computers. And I got, make a long story short, and I ended up in a typing class.
Oh yeah, I took one of those.
No, I didn't take it. They gave it to me.
Mm.
There was no place else to put me. I was being, I'd been referred out of all the other courses. But back then it was all girls. So I'm like, hey,
This works for me.
is this typing 101? Here's my card.
Right.
I didn't last 2 days. They threw me out.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme.
Well,
It's like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David's always getting thrown out of some place.
yeah. Well, I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed in wood shop. I wasn't allowed in art. I wasn't allowed in driver's ed. They would never let me near a car. There was a lot of things I wasn't.
So that's why you started Here's Help, was you wanted to be in charge so nobody could throw you out. You're the boss. You can't throw yourself out.
Anyway, so
Yeah, before we got started, you said you had a story for me today.
yeah. Well, the thing I get the most requests from our podcast, and I'm Footy. This is Ron Hershey. That's Spencer, our producer, right over there.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes. Thank God. Anyway, the thing I get the most queries about, or inquiries about, is the wingding.
Yeah.
Footy, I hate to tell you how many times a week people ask me, could bring the wingding back. We can go. And anybody connected with the city of Hollywood, that was their...
Well, that was, yeah.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the big blowout of the
they
year.
wouldn't. I do the St. Patrick's Day parade for the guys over there, but I keep telling them it's impossible to replicate. You can't replicate. It was a totally unique set of circumstances.
Especially now.
Yeah. And
That's funny because I remember the very first wingding.
oh, that was the one over in the shopping center.
And the Pembroke Pines Mall, which wasn't even open yet. It was just a huge empty parking lot, which was perfect for our purposes. And you came in one morning and said at Y100 and said, I'm thinking about having like a wingding, like a wing contest where all the different because wings had just kind of taken off. Ricky's was our hangout in Hollywood. Ricky's Wings.
We were big with Ricky's.
And so I guess the powers that be.
Sonny was a wing nut.
Oh, who couldn't? I mean, it's the perfect food, But I guess the powers that be at Y100 thought it was a great idea. And David Ross was the general manager, was truly a visionary as far as he was like the who's the guy that ran the circus for so many years.
Barnum and Bailey.
He was like the Barnum and Bailey of radio. He never shied away from a stunt or an event, and I guess they really got behind it.
This was the big stunt and the big event.
Yeah,
Take it from me.
And then so we had this event, and it was the most bizarre. First off, you picked the most varied array of judges you could possibly come up with. Chuck Curcio, the Tire King, was everybody that did their own commercial on TV became a judge. Cohen and Cohen.
I still see Bernie Cohen from time to time. But those guys were all over TV. They were well known.
So,
but what I did there, or how it all evolved, is there was no format.
Right. Well,
we could have had Pavarotti singing with Tiny Tim.
Right.
It was because we didn't have any boundaries.
Right.
We invited everybody, and if you was somebody that could help the show, go right ahead. And we did it.
And it was, I remember it being, I guess I was like the stage announcer or something.
Yeah, you probably were an MC.
Yeah, MC
at the band
event.
show.
Well, this was still at the Pembroke
still at
because
Pembroke.
I was only lasted for 1 year after the wingding. After that, I got bounced. But I just remember thinking, what a great event. I mean, even as small as it was, and like you said, we had nothing to gauge it by. It was that whole concept of the wingding, the chili cook-off, the rib roundoff was relatively new.
The chili cook-off was, they were following our lead.
Right.
Yeah.
So
because they used to, there was a woman who was the head of promotions or whatever, and I used to have lunch with her, and she would pick my brain and ask me things because we were off and running.
Oh yeah, I just remember it was a huge success, and there was a huge crowd, and I was blown away by how successful the first event was. And then, like you said, then it moved to the Hollywood Band Shell. It went from 1 day to 2 days. And then you got Gloria and Emilio Estefan involved. And then you started bringing in
Gloria
live
actually,
music. And
Gloria came up with Emilio. She was wearing like a $40,000 dress.
to the Wingding.
Yeah, she went and changed up in the band shell.
Mhm.
Emilio, Footy, I have for you a big surprise, And she's come and she changed in the bathroom, and she sang with John Cicada, which was the only time up till then that they had. And then she went the next day, like that Monday, to England to do that rock and roll show that they've had on in England forever.
Like the US,
No, yeah, they
not the US Festival.
they still do it. And she went on that show, and they asked her, "So what have you been up to, Gloria?" And she said, "Oh, I just came from the Wingding."
Okay, wow.
And they were
See?
like, "Wingding? What the hell is that?"
Yeah. What
So-
the bloody hell is that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. I mean, I can tell you stories too.
Well, every year. How long did the Wingding go? How long did it last?
Almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's tons of stories.
Yeah, we have. But what happened is, it was such a unique, and I'll explain this in upcoming podcasts, how we were able to do what we did. That's the really amazing part.
Mhm.
We never paid 1 red cent for talent. We never paid anybody for anything. And if you came, you brought something to the table, or we didn't let you through the gate. But it was pretty much a free-for-all. You know that. But I'll tell you one story. You remember Bertie Higgins?
Sure.
Yeah.
Key Largo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bertie Higgins is the guy who's performing. He has a lifetime hit at the song Key Largo, just like Bogey and Bacall and all that. Everybody knows it. In South Florida, it's an absolute anthem.
Right.
And, we used to get a lot of people up from the Keys and from,
All over the state.
from the farms where you used to be. So anyway, Bertie's a friend of mine. He used to come up, and it was a big deal. They couldn't wait for Bertie to sing Key Largo. And it was just like, it became a thing. And, of course, Joe Roth's in the middle of it again. And anyway, so it also didn't hurt that we had a guy named Dan Marino there
Right.
every single year. And he was really basically our grand marshal. And if those people weren't coming to see me, I could tell you that. He continues to raise money for us. He's the single, him, Pepe Padilla, Publix, but Dan is the single, in my opinion, the single biggest fundraiser we ever had, or we still have, that he comes out for us. He was at every single Wingding except the first one. But anyway, if you remember, Dan snapped his Achilles. Okay, so the Wingding comes up, and it was in the fall, I believe, every year. So Dan comes on the crutches. He's got a big cast on this, and he's on the crutches. And we go backstage, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
at the band show.
Yeah, the dressing rooms, as I recall, were upstairs. It was one of those spiral,
Right. Yeah.
firehouse
That's what
staircase
Gloria went up to change.
to get up to the dressing room. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Convenient.
didn't die, it was, So anyway,
I could see him in his
but
crutches.
people, you make a good point with the Wingding. People they got it, and it was like our event, their event. This is something unique to all of us. The people wouldn't miss it. They loved it. And it was we didn't charge almost anything. We raised the money through sponsors and, like $1 to get in, and had every act you could imagine. I mean, we had Destiny's Child with Beyonce on there.
Yeah.
I was actually in her trailer when she was getting ready to go on stage with the rest of them.
You have pictures?
I have memories. So anyway, another one was, I'll tell them as we're going. But anyway, so Bertie, he lives on the West Coast. He's down the Keys all the time. I haven't seen him in quite a while. But anyway, Birdie would come and sing Key Largo, and they went nuts when Birdie.
Yeah.
People used to say to me, "What are you going to do about that guy?" I said, "You watch what
Right.
that guy does.
Just wait.
Yeah, just wait and see what happens."
Right.
So I'm standing backstage with Dan. Nobody else was around. They were out on the stage auctioning off stuff, because Dan used to bring footballs and we'd auction them off, and he would throw them at the people. And I remember one time this woman in the back of the band shell, she bid and she won the ball, and part of the deal was Dan would throw the ball to the person. And it happens, Dan gets the ball, and all of a sudden I see his eyes glaze over. These guys don't know how to shut off the motor.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I know.
He's looking there's a big crowd.
Right.
Okay? It's packed. And the woman's way in the back, and she's standing there like waving her hand, and Dan starts patting the ball. and I'm going, no, we'll take it out to her. She's, no, I can hit her. Don't worry, I can hit her. I got it. I see her. I can hit her. And he's patting the ball. He's looking at her. You would have thought he was in the Super Bowl. He went right into the mode.
Right. Yeah.
Next thing I know, I've at camp once or twice back in the day, I would come by and Dan would grab me to go out and warm him up. You don't ever want to get that job.
You have no idea how hard an NFL quarterback throws that football.
Well,
I've tried to catch a few myself.
And him is really,
in particular.
They always threw him out of pit.
They always said
receive his fingers.
Duper and Clayton used to always say he threw harder than anybody they'd ever caught.
Well, this woman is now waiting.
Now the target in the crosshairs
for an NFL football. This is not like a commemorative job. This is the real thing. So I'm going, no. Well, I'll have somebody take it. Footy, I can hit her. And he was like talking to a madman. He just lost all comprehension. He said, I can hit her. I said, no. And next thing I know, goes the ball. And the poor woman's standing there like, and she gets, what do they call it? The solar plexus?
Oh, no.
Yeah, but she was okay. The paramedics were able to bring her around. So anyway, Dan and I go backstage because we're doing all auctions along the way. It was just me and him sitting there. Mm-hmm. He's sitting on the bench. He's got the big giant cast on his leg, and he's got his crutch, and he's at the winging. Okay, and he didn't need to be reminded. He was there. He used to tell me, "Footy, I'm here. As long as you're doing it, I'm here." And that's how him and I, we really sort of partnered up on a lot of his charity events and our charity events. And it still is a very fruitful thing. Mm-hmm. And for him and for us. So Dan's sitting there and I'm standing there and we're just shooting the breeze. And all of a sudden my phone rings and I pick it up and it's Mike Van Driver. And Mike, Mike had this way he talks like this.
He was like the van driver for Y100.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Mike Van Driver, that's what we call him. Mm-hmm. I said, where are you? Where's Bertie Higgins? Mm-hmm. Oh, Mr. Higgins ran away.
Ran away.
And I said, what do you mean he ran away? Okay, I sent you to the Riverside Hotel to pick him up. Riverside, to their credit, like Don Shula's and a number of other, they gave us rooms. We never paid for rooms. We didn't pay for anything. Everything went to the place that we built, actually. So he goes, I don't know where he went. He was running down the street with a girl. And I go find him and get him over here.
He's got to sing Key Largo.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, but Mike's like, I don't know where he went. Yeah. So finally, Mike reconnects with Bertie and shows up at the wingding. And Bertie got his guitar, he's got his outfit on. And
he's got his girl.
No, he didn't bring the girl. He comes in backstage, with himself and a guitar. Mm-hmm. And he sees me, he goes, hey, Footy, we're going to rock the house, don't worry. I go, you got it, Bertie. and he rips the sleeves off his shirt. And I'm like, this is like a part of the show, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's got the guitar, and he's looking,
Part of the show.
and he's standing there, and he looks at Dan and looks at his foot, and he goes, "Hey, dude, what happened to your foot?" I'm like, okay. Bertie, he says, "Yeah, man, hope you're all right." And he runs out of the stage, and he does the show, and knocks the thing down. So the following Monday, Bertie calls me up, and get this one. "Hey, Footy." I go, "Yeah, Bertie, thanks for coming, everything. You know that guy that you were with?" I go, "Dan?" "Yeah, that Dan guy. He's famous." I go, "You think?" And what it was is his kids, he came home, and
Right.
you know how entertainers are. They're in the entertainment world. Like, they just play
Right,
music all the
right.
time. It's hard to get them down back to earth. But somehow or another, he said he connected that there was a guy there, and Bertie was the only one on earth that didn't know that Dan snapped his Achilles. I mean, it was on.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
They were like minute by minute updates on Dan's progress. Yeah.
So, but he came and we did it, and we went. I'll bring in later episodes. I'll tell you where we went after that, because that one involved a wrestling ring.
Well, that'll be for another podcast.
Yes,
So I think
that
we're done with
definitely-
this one for the day.
Yeah. But you know how much money we raised?
I don't know, but I can imagine a 2-day event. And you know, the thing was about the
Millions of
the
dollars.
thing about the Wingding was it had all the elements. It had like food, it had like a competition, it had live music, and it was one of those events where everybody had to go, because on Monday morning they wanted to tell everybody in the office that they went to the Wingding.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a type of, I know from me personally, and I'm sure for lots of other people that went, you would run into people that you hadn't seen.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody was there.
So it had all the elements of a great event. And
A lot of politicians.
the fact that it grew from a couple of hours in a mall that wasn't open to a 2-day event with the cream of the music industry appearing for free. And did you have artists that would call you and volunteer? Because usually
we had I'll tell you, we had artists that would knock your door down,
Right.
to get in front of that crowd.
because there were so
Yeah.
many people and it was such a high profile event.
Jessica Simpson,
they wanted to be
Britney
a part of it.
Spears,
Right.
all the guy groups, and it was just crazy. But I'll tell you on our next podcast, the real guy behind the whole thing that really was able to pull it together, I'll tell you who that was. And Mr. Koppelman from the record company,
Mm-hmm.
and the other record company guy.
Okay. Well, that'll be
Okay.
next time.
That would be, Footy, you're a wonderful man. Whitney Houston is a beautiful, beautiful performer. Who am I doing?
It sounds like the publisher of Penthouse,
No.
Bob Guccione.
We'll get it. I'll get that. Be here next week, because you're gonna. Clive Davis is who I was.
Oh,
it was
right, okay.
Koppelman
Yes,
and Clive
yes,
Davis.
yes.
How do
Okay.
you? Okay.
Right, with the hairspray.
But that isn't what got us all done. And I'll tell you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, here's help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.